Hello everybody, my name is Mike and I am the former editor-in-chief of the Quest publication. So today we are going to talk about how to make a feature article. So stay tuned and enjoy. Okay, so the first question is, what is a feature story? So as you can see here, a feature shares information, but it should also convey emotion and atmosphere and analyze events and issues. They strive to inform, but they can also amuse, entertain, inspire, or stimulate. Or in my words, you should try to put your readers into the subject's shoes. You have to make the readers feel like they are living the moment. They are living the instance that your subject is currently experiencing or have experienced. Like regular news stories, features must be journalistically sound. Nothing should be made up. They should be made of factual, fair, balanced, and are based on verifiable facts. So you should get your facts straight. They must also be objective, as they are not essays or editorials. So you're not just making up information. You are giving out the information that your subject is providing. Okay, so later on, I will be providing an example of my written work. So as what you will observe later, feature writers borrow techniques from fiction and other creative writing, often using detail, sensory description, anecdotes, scene settings, plot structure, and other novelistic elements to dramatize a story's theme to add more detail. So by using those techniques, you will be capable of grabbing the reader's attention at a first glance. The moment they read your lead, they will be hooked by your creativeness. Now, the question is, what is the difference between a hard news or a news and a feature? So a hard news intends to inform. It gives information directly to the reader, while a feature, on the other hand, intends to evoke emotion. It is written in a narrative, and the reader is entertained when they read it. Reporting is still crucial, and reporting is the foundation of all great features because you're intending to inform, but on the side, you're trying to evoke the emotions while you are informing the readers. Reporting provides the tools that a journalist needs to build a feature story. So you still have to use your journalistic skills, your inquiry skills. So what is reporting? So reporting is interviewing, researching, observation, and then giving it out to your readers or audience. So that is reporting. Now let us move on to details. Please remember that details are fundamental. They help capture a reader's attention. They draw the reader into the story, and they allow writers to show, not tell. We will talk about that soon. Now, how do we get the details? How do we make the structure of our story? So first is interview the person, so you can observe the person in their own environment with their own things. You must go directly to that person and then feel what the environment looks like. So for example, I'm gonna interview someone who's from a poor family. I have to go there, I have to experience it, so that I will be able to capture my experience and put it using and inscribe it using a pen and paper for everyone to read. So you should gather more details than necessary. You should record everything, shoot photos, ask a lot of questions, and take a lot of notes. So on my personal experience, before we interview, we usually give out a letter on when the interview will start, and then we give them a set of questions so that they can prepare prior to the interview. So besides that, you need to think. Besides that, you have to think dynamically. You have to ask questions as you go. Don't stick on the questions that you already have. Like for example, what made you do this? So that is the question that you have written on the questionnaire. And then after the subject has answered that, ask more follow-up questions. So for example, what were your motivations to do this? What pushed you through this? Who are the ones who supported you when you were down? So questions like that. Now we go over to our types of feature stories. So the very first one is the general feature. So general features are anything that largely figures national consciousness, are also fitting topics such as anniversaries like EDSA, Independence Day, or other events. Given that the mentioned topics are not necessarily connected to news or current issues hinged to the news, the journalist is obligated to unearth interesting angles to make the general feature equally interesting as other features. So let's say, for example, you're going to be covering about the women's rights or the Women's Day, if that's what it's called. It's a general topic. So you have to find your angle. Are you gonna interview someone, or are you gonna observe a local event that is held by the local government or a local group? So you have to find your angle for a general feature to boom, just like that. Next up is personal experience feature. So this is commonly being used in workshops and in competitions, in writing competitions. So during my time in the Quest publications, during that 3 years that I had, we had at least 6 writing competitions that involved personal experience feature. So personal experience features story is written obviously in the first person, in your perspective, from the reporter's perspective. There was a time when we were asked, have you been to another place? Have you been to another country? If so, describe your experience. That was the very first competition that I joined, and unfortunately I lost because I was not able to convey, or what do you call this? I wasn't able to put into perspective everything that I saw that time when I was in that place. So it could either be what's it like? What is it like to have a friend who has cancer, or what is it like to climb Mount Apo for the first time? So personal experience, everything that you have experienced, it can vary from one to another. It can either be your journey from zero to hero, or how did you learn how to draw magnificently, and other things like that. So those are personal experience features. Okay, so next is my personal favorite. It's human interest feature. So anything that appeals to the reader's emotions. It could either make you laugh, make you cry, make you feel angry, make you feel sympathy, or anything that has potential for human interest. So if you look back to the magazines that we have already published, and if you look at my articles, almost all of it are human interest feature. It mainly focuses on profiling. So I go out to the school and I try to find exceptional people who has been through many things in life and has or are trying to overcome what they are facing. So that is a human interest feature. So the examples that I will be showing to you later are examples of this article. Okay, so now we move on to the structure of a feature story. So imagine a tree. So the large spine of the tree, or the trunk of the tree, is your main theme, and everything else branches out of it. So why is a theme useful? So it is where you organize your facts, quotes, and anecdotes. The theme is what your feature is all about. You should not stray away from them. If it's all about perseverance, you should stick to perseverance. If it's all about surviving, you should stick to survival, and so on and so forth. We have here the Wall Street Journal formula for our feature. So the beginning should start with an anecdote or an illustration of the theme. Make sure that you have a human face for your theme. So I'm gonna be showing you an example of that. Okay, here we go. So as you can see here from my beginning, the students ran as the sky became dark, started to barrage a heavy amount of gloom within the city. But that didn't stop the local cobbler from doing what he does best. So as you can see on my first sentence, I tried to portray what was it like, what was the environment like, so that the reader would instantly be immersed on the environment that I was trying to portray, the environment of the story. So as you can see here, I used non-common words like barrage, gloom, cobbler. So it adds to the intensity of the beginning, the introduction, or the lead. Next, he unfolded his umbrella and placed it beside a waiting shed of the co-ed canteen, with a large special needle in his hand and a worn-out shoe on the other. He started roughing out the edges of the shoe in order for it to be tailored. So as you can see on the next sentence, pardon me, it's very long. I have gradually portrayed to the readers what is the situation all about. So it was raining, everybody's running around. Still, there is a person who still kept on working despite the bad weather. So as you can see here, if you read the first two sentences, you're being immersed in the story already. And on the last sentence, Tatay Romeo wiped out the raindrops on his thick glasses as he continued on with his work, never minding the harsh climate around him. So on the beginning, if you use deep and creative words like this, you will already be able to capture the eyes of the reader. They will be asking, "Oh my gosh, what happened? What happened to Tatay Romeo? Why is he doing that? Hey, let me read some more." So by making your beginning into an illustration, you will be able to entice more and more audience. Okay, next is the theme. Shortly after the beginning state of the point of your piece, don't drop this point lower than the 6th paragraph. So you have to put your theme there. As you can see on my article, Tatay Romeo is now 61 years old and has been working as a local cobbler ever since 1979. So I put in details like a news, which is approximately 39 years. Okay, he started straight outside the campus of Colegio de la Purísima Concepcion and transferred outside CAPSU on the year 2013. He is a father of 13 children. His wife and 4 of his children already passed away, and most of them already has a family of his own. So what is the theme here? So as you can see, I stated here that Tatay Romeo has been working for a very long time as a cobbler. So the theme here that we can extract from the 2nd paragraph is perseverance. He never gave up in life. Okay, so next up is the body. Provide details to elaborate in a theme. Tell the reader what is happening and why, and what is being done about the situation. So on the body, as you can see here, I have 3 paragraphs for the body. You have to put in the details. You have to answer the lingering questions in the reader's mind on the body. So I usually go with this. It is actually a technique that was taught to me by my journalism teacher. You have to put in the quote first. So, mayara pa ako duha ka puya, ang isa nag-eskwela sa Purisima, ang isa naman sa Capiz High. Then, after putting in the quote, you have to analyze what he said. So, analyze, don't assume. So, analyze in a context that won't be far off from what the subject has said. So, he said with an exhausted smile. As you can see here, I illustrated the emotions of my subject while I was interviewing him. So at this point he was just like that. He smiled with an exhaustion on his face. And then I elaborated. Clearly this is a motivation for him to never give up on his trade. He was able to sustain all of his children through his hard work, and he will do so up until they have finished their studies. Okay, so quote, illustration, and analysis. So that's gonna be the structure on my end, but it can be different from you. You can try to find your own writing style. Next is I quoted again. Sang una nagsugod malangko pang limpyo-limpyo sa sapatos. So he started out. Then I also placed an illustration here on what he was doing while I was interviewing him. So he paused for a while and he stroked a long line of thread through the shoe while he was repairing. So the aura, the portrayal of the environment isn't disappearing. It's constantly there while you are reading. I quoted then again because his statement wasn't finished yet. Amo gid ni ang hatag sa akong sang Ginoo. Nagapasalamat gid ako sining iya ging tugyan sa akon. That's what he specifically said. Then I illustrated it again. He looked up upon his trade with pride and determination. So I can see it in his eyes while he was saying that he was proud of what he is, even though he's just a cobbler. He is proud of what he has achieved in life. So despite the harshness of the climate, he still continued on and never gave up with his willpower. At that time, I was wet. Tatay Romeo was also wet from the rain, and still, despite all that, I still kept on interviewing him, and he still kept on doing his work while we were talking. Then again, quote unquote, kisa nagakita ako 300 sa kadlaw, kung kisa nagalabot man 700, kung damo na ang gapatahi. So I have placed in the details that he has said. He paused again for a while and he dipped his large needle through a lump of wax. As you can see, another illustration. May ara gid sa tiyempo nga waay gid akong kita sa isa kadlaw. So there are times where he doesn't earn a single peso in a day. He looked up and he smiled while saying, "Pachimpo lang na." So as you can see here on my last paragraph, it's an interval of quotation, illustration, quotation, illustration, quotation, illustration, quotation, because the quotation themselves are already self-explanatory to the readers. So for the next paragraph after that, because of the abundance of the quotations, I have placed my analysis on the next paragraph. So being a cobbler has its pros and cons, just like all the other trades in the community. You don't actually have to quote everything. You can just paraphrase it, put it outside the quotes, paraphrase it. So this did not discourage him. It furtherly solidified his will to fight another day. So what is the benefit of this? So there will be instances where your article will be read by a foreign person, and by reading your analysis they will be able to get a hint or a gist of what this quotations is all about, because they can't understand ligay nun. Okay, so we finally head over to our ending. So an ending is a reminder of the lead through a summary, an example, or an anecdote. So there are many techniques in formulating your ending. You can either tie your ending to your lead, or you can make a creative illustration, or you can end it with a quote. So let's see what I have here for the last 3 paragraphs of my article. So upon reaching the final strokes towards his repairs, obviously it's an illustration. He continued sewing up the sole of the shoes towards the bottom part of the backstay. As he finished repairing, he left out an advice for everyone to remember. So it's going to be a quote on my end. As what you can observe here, I am slowly transitioning from the body to the ending. So he said, "Pagtutom ka mo kag pagtuon ka mo sa maayo." There we go, that's the quote. Then for the ending, for the true ending, I ended with an illustration after the quote. He brushed off what's left of the specks of dust and wax and placed it on a small plastic bag. And with a smile, he stood up and returned the repaired shoes to the student and went back to his small wooden chair and took up another pair of worn shoes and started repairing again. So that is one of the examples of an ending. So I transitioned from the body to the ending, then a quote, then an illustration on what he did while he was saying that quote. So that's the ending for my article. Okay, so there you go. A complete structure of a feature article. Okay, so for the final part of our discussion, it's going to be the tips and tricks on how to make a feature article. So the first tip, the number 1 tip, is show, don't tell. So as you can see on other news articles, if you read the newspaper, the lead is always telling. It deliberately shows everything, describes all the details of the lead. So don't tell, show. As you have seen on my example, I showed it in a way that it puts you to the subject's shoes. Tip number 2, don't use cliches. So cliche is or are expressions or idea or elements of a work that has been overused or is already known by many. So don't use a word over and over again. Don't use sentences over and over again. If you've already said it, then don't say it again. That's a cliche. Tip number 3 is to find your own writing style. So after a year or 2 in the Quest publication, I have found out that my strength in writing is profiling. So I took that strength and I polished it and polished it and polished it and added my creative writing skills on my journalism writing style. So it became my own my own signature in writing. So you have to find yours too. And last but not the least, tip number 4, always read. Always constantly read. I mean, not all the time, but if you have your spare time, always read. You can read books, you can read instructional materials, you can read manuals, non-fictions, you can even read newspapers so that you can analyze those writing styles of the authors and incorporate it to your own, or make or pick out the bits and pieces of their writing styles and add it into your own arsenal. And that's the end of our video. I hope that you have learned something today, and well, keep on writing. Don't let the flames of your passion die out. So have a nice day, everyone. Goodbye.